popping with the population? Welcome to the Cut My Own Hair podcast, hosted by me, Trey. Um, Little backstory as to why it's called I Cut My Own Hair. Because currently I'm living in Thailand. I'll be here until March. Actually, my visa next week. Um, the last time I went and got a haircut was like October, late October. Shout out to my barber, Carlos Reyes. Hopefully you still there when I get back. It's gonna be hectic. I was going to bring over some type of barber tools and figure out how to cut my own hair on YouTube, but I forgot to take my clippers with me, and also the plugs here are way different in America. So I brought like just a razor and this cut buddy pause. It's like this brush that's motorized that can like keep if you get a haircut, it can kind of like keep your hair down a little bit. But currently, I just got this bandana situation working on. But so that's all I got with me right now. So I'm trying to maintain what he did until March. I've broken out the straight razor like once or twice to try to keep my line intact, but I think I'm failing a little bit. I don't know. I don't want to check. I'm leaving this bandana on. Shout out to Trinidad and Tobago, like pick up on the soca and all that, and doubles or whatnot. These bandanas are not gang related. I'm in my 30s. I can't. I don't have the time nor the dedication to be in a gang. Takes too much. Takes too much energy. And to know all them handshakes and be able to do all that stuff, twisting up your fingers and all that, can't do it. Bandanas, yeah. The blue one in the back is a polo one. Just so anybody. But all in all, I got a big head, so. But all in all, this podcast is just dedicated to like my thoughts and like journeys, travels, or whatnot, and what's going on in my mind. Uh, Recently, I've been in Thailand since October 29th, I think. I've had two fights out here, caught two L's. Fighting out of my weight class, though. And the reason I'm fighting out of my weight class is because I came over here with a depression weight. But my depression weight, to the layman, or just somebody who don't know me, look like a little football player, like I'm in shape. Nah, I'm not in shape to be fighting people the size that I walk around. Because that's just not what I want to do. Because they always usually too tall. Because I'm like 5'7", 5'8" on a good day. I got baby hands. Tiny hands, as one of my coaches back home would say. Um, so I don't want to fight tall people. So I usually fight like at least 20 pounds lighter than what I'm walking around right now. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the time that I'm here. That depression weight was caused by a multitude of things. Uh, I was trying to track back to where my depression had started. Um, the trigger warning for anybody who's going through that. But it started when I still had locks. I want to say like 2018, 2017 ish. Uh, I got a call from my mom when I was, and I tracked this all the way back. I got a call from my mom when I was going to fight a title fight in Indiana against some dude. Um, I was all hype, ready to fight, regular routines, stuff, doing, whatever, just on a rise to get myself to try to look to go pro and whatnot and do a bunch of other things with myself. And she called me frantic about my little brother who was giving her issues. My little brother's in his 20s or whatever. Giving her issues, and those issues got really out of hand, and it threw me all the way off. And I'll never forget, I felt helpless and hopeless, like I didn't know what to do. And that carried into the ring. I felt helpless and hopeless and didn't know what to do and kind of just tuned out. And it was a 5-round fight. I zoned out. So one of my friends has a picture of my face in the corner, but you can clearly see that I'm like bugged out, like I don't know what to do with myself. And that broke me from then. And I'll never forget, I was actually in the car with my coach going back home, and he asked me like, "Do you want to fight?" Like, because it was some upcoming fight. I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll do it." And that's when I realized, like, well, that's when I'm realizing now that that's when my depression like first started, and where and where I allowed myself to drown out what was going on around me with training, but then at the same time not really being able to focus and train like I want to. So just being there, but not being there. Like my body's there, but my mind, heart, and spirit is not there. Taking fights and doing things when I should have just after that day sat down and took time to figure out how to get back home and figure out what was going on with my mom and my brother. Because to me, through that process of what was going on back home, I felt like I left her. I felt like I abandoned her or whatnot. So it really screwed me up. And that, your depression and sadness starts to manifest itself in the different aspects and parts of your life without you noticing, but you noticing. So, like, for me, it was just training and fighting. Like, I can be a star in training or whatever, whatnot, help out coaching, actually give an opportunity at my gym back home, Ronin, to train, to coach or whatnot, and teach, and still be lackluster when I compete. Like, be the complete polar opposite of the person that you see when you are coaching and training me. As far as like the coaches who coach and train me, and as far as like my training partners working with them, and that disconnect, I couldn't pinpoint what the hell was going on with me, and I just thought it was a rough patch or whatever. And I get out of it, and then I would have like ups and downs. Like I'd win a fight, lose two, go on a big loser streak like I am right now, win three or four. I was able to go pro in MMA, and I was still dealing with the depression and whatnot. When my mother actually, this is just time. The timeline's kind of if like wonky as far as like me going through because I don't want to bore you with all of that, but just explain to you my mental state. There was a national tournament I did, and I fought, lost or whatever, but had a conversation with my mom because I was trying to get my money together because I wanted to go to Thailand to better myself in striking and stuff like that, and elevate my game or whatnot. And had a real deep conversation with my mom, and she had did a beautiful thing and blessed me with the bread. Like she gave me the bits of the not bits because it was way more than bits, but she gave me the monies to be able to go. Like I had a couple dollars saved, and she gave me the monies that I needed to be able to go, and supported me through that as far as mental and emotional support, and actually sent me like this deep message letting me know that she was happy that I found something that I enjoy. And like I came back, and this was in 2019. I came back in 2020 because it was from January 2019 to April 2020. It came back, um, had a conversation with my mom, talking to her, whatnot. And then a week later, my mother like randomly passed away from a massive heart attack. Obviously, 2020 was a year of COVID. I don't know if people want to still believe we're in the pandemic, but COVID's very real. Nevertheless, people were still trying to understand COVID at the time, and it's a respiratory virus, but that can also cause heart attacks. My mother didn't really have any medical issues that would lend the thought that she could possibly be somebody who's susceptible to the effects of COVID. But stranger things have happened. So she did work in the medical field as the head of billing and coding for oncology at Montefiore Hospital, and then before that, she was doing it at St. Luke's Hospital, and before that, she was at this clinic, whatever. She was getting money just working in the medical field. I learned mad medical stuff through my mom. I've never in my life stepped a foot in a medical school, but I know mad random medical shit and about medical billing and coding and whatnot. Um, she passed, massive heart attack. Later on, I postulate that it was from COVID because she had no heart problems. Um, she was, the coroner said it was a massive heart attack. I actually, when I went to go figure out how my mom passed away, I picked up her iPad and saw that she was Googling, like, I think she still had her appendix, but like appendix pain or whatnot, back like appendix area, like back issues or whatnot. And when I was looking up women's thing for heart attack, like, if I'm not mistaken, like back issues is one of the things that a woman thinks she's having when she's having a heart attack. Like dudes, it's the arms. Women, I think it's the back. If I'm not mistaken, or it's the stomach. It's either the back or the stomach. I think it's one of the two. And I know she was looking up something like that on her iPad before we figured out what she passed away from. So my mother died, so that threw me into even deeper part of depression because not only did I feel like I left her in the first place, those 2 or so years ago when I found out my brother was wilding and that whole situation went, left and whatnot, and she still was trying to hold him down because obviously it's her son, but he's still doing too much. When she passed away, it made me feel like I even more did her, did her dirty and left her and did her a disservice by going out and wanting to train and fight and whatnot. Especially considering that she moved to New Jersey, and that's what she passed away from. She passed away at. She's from the Bronx originally, living in Harlem, and then moved. And one of the reasons why she moved, and she was telling me, is like, because she been wanting to get out of the place in Harlem, but like it was just a lot of bullcrap. She didn't want to deal with no more. She wanted to move, be somewhere else, somewhere cheaper. When I think the place she was living at was no more cheaper than where she was before. But then that also made me feel like I was a part of it, because it's like if I was there, the stuff with my brother and her wouldn't happen. She probably would have still been in the Bronx, I mean, in Harlem, or went somewhere else and not have passed away from a possible COVID-induced heart attack. Like when you think back to it, it's like you really have no control over these things, but you feel like you do. You feel as if you are the responsible party for any tragedy that you face. And it puts you in a place where you make yourself the enemy and you torture yourself with your existence. You don't do the things you're supposed to do like you're supposed to do them because you feel you don't deserve to, because of the thing that you had really nothing to do with. It couldn't have changed anyway, but you think that your punishment is your existence. So me coming out here is to reset myself, get myself in a better headspace. Like I said, those two fights I lost, like these past 2 or 3 weeks or whatever, I was fighting out of my weight class and also, getting my mind right. Like now I told the trainer, like, yo, we gotta go down the weight. I can't do that no more, and I'm get myself together because in the end, I had a conversation with my mother's best friend um, a little whiles back, and she was like, you can't keep blaming yourself. It's not right. Your mother wouldn't want you to do that. And she was just speaking to me about a couple of other things, and it put a lot of things into perspective where you realize that anybody you've ever lost, you had the honor to know them, and the beauty of them is the connection that you have and that you will always have, and no one can take that away from you. And granted, it's hard every day to try to get yourself to live without them being there physically. You know that they're always going to be there in your mind, in your heart, because energy is neither created nor destroyed, and memories can never fade unless you fade away. So now I'm figuring, that out, and and understanding that feeling and whatnot that I was having in the ring. Like even these past two fights, like I had them a little bit where it's like you get in there, like everything is whatever clicking, doing whatever it's doing. Like when I got out here, like I'm running through mad sickness and whatever. But stuff happens during training camp, so whatever you want to call it. But you realize that the disconnect between your training and your performance is you figuring out that it was that you got to pinpoint that moment, like that thing that triggers that that thing that triggers that nervous system reaction, like your body just immediately reacts like it's happening again. And I think there's some form of therapy that they have for people where they don't really talk about the situation more than the feeling that the situation caused, because that feeling can be repeated in other aspects of your life or whatnot. Like you can have the, like, let's say you were in a situation with somebody who was living foul and they called you out of your name or something, or they got aggressive with you before verbally and you didn't like it or whatever, and it's traumatized you. Then now, any and every time you feel that like somebody comes onto you that way, that feeling initiates, like it happens inside you, and you just react like that's that person again, because it's just that nervous, like that feeling that they created, like that um, response or whatnot. Oh yeah, I know. Shout out to the doctor, bandaged me up. I think I gotta keep these stitches in for like a few more days. I'm gonna still try to train this week though. Just no contact stuff with people because I can't get this the stitches wet. But, that feeling or whatnot, you realize that that's what you have to defeat. Like the sadness, the memories, and all these other things, the reasons why, and off I was there, and all that other stuff. That is birthed by that, like that feeling inside, like a nervous, like I said, your nervous system that creates this like that that reaction to whatever's is happening with you. So I'm learning that. Like I was sitting down today and I was running through my thoughts and I was like, that's the feeling I had. That's the feeling I had. That's the feeling. That's where it's from. And pinpoint back to like where it all started. And it was then. And now I know as a 32-year-old man, I have to live my legacy. I mean, I have to create my legacy, and not to make that sound any dramatic or whatever have you, but create a way for myself, my legacy for myself that is not drowned in guilt and sadness or whatnot. Because when you lose someone, you are put in a position where you lost that person, and other people you will lose too. And that doesn't mean they have to physically die. You can lose friendships, family, relationships, or what have you, because of the loss of like a pillar in your life. Like my mother was a pillar in my life, so you lose that, you lose out like other people because other relationships can fall to the wayside, especially if they are not understanding, and not because they're being malicious or mean or whatnot, but they're not understanding because they just don't understand. And it takes a lot of empathy to be able to deal with someone that's grieving, because you have to understand that grief doesn't have a handbook, just like raising a child doesn't have a handbook. So just imagine a grief ridden child, like someone who lost their parent, who they saw to be awesome, knowing that there's no handbook to being a parent. So that means they've made the way for themselves as a great parent by things that they picked up along the way, and then the kid is hit with it because they lose out on that person. And now grief can last forever. Grief does last forever. So it's a matter of understanding that, and like being able to be around somebody like that takes a lot of empathy and a lot of patience and a lot of understanding. And so learning how to deal with those things emotionally, you know, and make a way for yourself where you don't have to think that you are the bad guy or whatever have you, and that you don't keep living in your sadness. That way that you have to make for yourself has to be with the thought that the person or whatever that you've lost would want that for you. Because you should want that, because it makes absolutely no sense for you to crumble because you lost somebody. It makes sense for you to be sad. It makes sense for you to, be devastated, whatever have you. But to also die too, whether that be spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever have you, you're just making the situation sadder for the next person to may care about you, or just for yourself. Because why? Because the beauty of life is knowing that you really do have the ultimate control. I mean, obviously, trigger one, I don't want to go into anything else like that, but you really have to just take a reins for your life. It takes a lot, obviously, it's easier said than done, but the beauty in it is that you really do have control when you sit back and think about it. And just like, sometimes you could go to your barber, every 2 weeks or so to make sure your cut is nice, your shape up is good, your beard is good, or whatever have you. You could also buy some clippers, buy that cut buddy, pause, get a razor, straight razor, go on YouTube and figure it out yourself. Because you got control. So, you know, shout out to y'all if y'all stayed on for this 20 or so minutes of my video. Uh, the first episode of the podcast. I cut my own hair. I'm Dre. Again, not gang affiliated because I'm 30 plus years old. Shout out to the doctor for the stitches. Shout out to my barber, Carlos Reyes. Let's see when I get back. Shout out to y'all.